If you're feeling like you're behind on your goals heading into September, you have, in my mind, a very binary choice. Choice number one, it's going to be an okay year, not a great year. Can't wait to get to the end of the year. I'm really going to have to do a lot better in 2025. That's path one. Path two is, I'm kind of like in the fourth quarter here of this game for the year. Maybe I need to be a little Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Hi, it's Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to the Magellan Network Show. My goal inside of this communication, this show, is to share with you my nearly 30 years of coaching some of the most successful financial advisors in North America. We're going to be talking about strategies, syntaxes. We're going to be bringing guests on from time to time, and I'm going to share with you what's working now. So think of this show as sort of like a little one-on-one kind of mini coaching cast, if you like, where we're going to be going in depth from time to time on strategies to help you grow your business, get more effective, become more efficient, find balance in your time management, grow your business, and quite frankly, whatever else is going on in the world today. So before we get to today's episode, I'd love for you to do a couple things for me. Number one, make sure that if you're watching this on YouTube, that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you're doing the audio, make sure that you give us a review on whether it's Spotify or Apple. We'd really appreciate that. And quite frankly, that does help. It does matter when you rate things and like things and subscribe to things. It helps us get the word out to more of the industry. And lastly, I have a very special gift for you. Go to MagellanNetwork.net, so one word, MagellanNetwork.net, and I have for you a complimentary membership, 100% gratis, where you can tap into about between 50 and 75 hours of masterclasses, forms, tools, templates, and strategies. So please go ahead and make sure you go get that claimed. Smash the like button and subscribe. And please go ahead and leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you're on. And now, let's get to this week's episode. Hi, it's your Coach Joe Lucas, and welcome to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, welcome to literally almost the end of August here. We're just about a week away from Labor Day here, 2024. And I thought I would take this episode and talk about, what you can do as a financial advisor if you're feeling like you're behind the curve, right? You feel like you're don't have enough momentum. You feel like maybe you're in a bit of a slump, a rut, things like that. And look, it happens. It happens to the best of us. Life is a series of patterns, emotional patterns, behavioral patterns, right? And sometimes those patterns are aligned with us. We're in that zone, right? And everything's happening and everything good that's happening. And we feel like, we're just totally abundant. And then, suddenly something changes, right? Pattern shifts. And we feel like we're pushing the car uphill with a flat tire. And that's no fun. What I have found in my years is that because advisors tend to be, if you think about it, you're a financial advisor, especially if you're planning oriented, you tend to want to plan things. And I get that, right? So you just hear me out on this. I think most advisors overplan and underdo. And I'm going to give you some examples of that in a moment. But one of my early mentors way back when in the early 90s, Tony Robbins, he had a saying. And the saying was, massive action cures all slumps. Take massive action, right? It's one of Tony's sayings. And it's so true, right? I like to put stories in here because I've got a lot of them, and I think sometimes they tell a better point. So, probably 15, 20 years ago, I was speaking at a small broker-dealer conference, and we were like in a Q&A session. And one of the advisors raised his hands and says, I'm really struggling, with my business, right? I feel defeated. I feel like I've got no momentum. I'm kind of just in survival mode and stuff like that. And I remember I asked him, Lukacs, I said, well, tell me how many clients, first of all, how long you've been in the business? About 10 years. Okay. How many clients do you have? And he said, about like 150, 175, right? And these are smaller clients, obviously, you all can figure that out. And I said to him, I said, well, I mean, you survived about a decade, so, congratulations. Obviously, not everybody does that, right? But then I said, when you started in the business, think back, right? So think back to the first year or two. What was your mindset? What was the goal, right? And he said, my goal was to make enough money to survive in the business. I said, great. I said, when did you change that goal to something other than survival? And I remember him looking at me with this like look on his face, and like all of a sudden he had an epiphany. I don't think I ever changed it. Like I never thought about like thinking differently. I had to make more money, kids and stuff like that. I said, yeah. But basically you played a survival psychology for 10 years. The number changed and elevated because of need, right? But not of want. And so many advisors, this is really a trap. You start off in the business knowing the numbers you need to make to validate what you're doing. And you accomplish that. And if you're here, if you're listening, watching, then you've accomplished that. Congratulations. But a lot of you never stop thinking that way. And that's why you're kind of in that trap, the mindset trap of survival. It's almost like you're not making enough to declare yourself successful, but you're not enough to leave the business. Like a zombie existence. So how do you get out of it, right? Well, I think the first thing is that you got to declare that I need to get out of it. Like it's a must. Not I'm going to try to do this or I should. Like no, and I'll share another story. So I use this. A lot of you may not like this. I'm going to apologize in advance, but hear me out. I'll often get an advisor that I'm working with personally, and they're stuck. And there are things they need to do, but they're unwilling to do it. So like if somebody said, man, I can't grow my business, stuff like that. It's okay. I said, look, I'm going to ask you for forgiveness in advance, but I'm going to walk you through something, and I want to see how you answer the question. And they go, okay. And then really gets their attention, right? I said, look, if I said to you that in the next 30 days, you've got to go get 4 new clients and raise, let's say $1 million, right? Like those 2 things must happen. If they don't happen, I'm going to fly to your town. I'm going to murder your family in front of you. And you're going to live with that for the rest of your life, knowing that because you failed the mission, that happened. Hi, Coach Joe Lukacs here, and I'm just breaking here for a moment just to do a couple quick reminders. Number one, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our podcast. In addition, please leave a comment or a review. Those things really, really matter. And share this episode with 3 of your colleagues inside the financial services space. And lastly, make sure that you go ahead and claim your free membership inside of Magellan Network. Now back to this week's episode. Now, tell me what you're willing to do. Go. And I shut up. And man, it's amazing when the consequences are large enough what human beings are willing to do. So I said, walk me through it, man. He goes, I'd probably call up each one of my clients, thank them for being a client, and ask them for a name. It's okay, excellent. What else would you do? I know I've got clients that have outside assets that I kind of know about, but I've never really made a play to go get them and consolidate them. Okay, great. What else would you do? And, over the years, I've been introduced to people. I've had conversations, but they never became clients. You know what? I should go back and follow up with those people. I said, all right, yeah, great. What else would you do? And, he said, well, I've got 3 or 4 CPA attorneys that I'm pretty close with. I need to just kind of remind them that I'm here and stuff like that. They have a client who's getting ready to retire. Please think of me. So great. All of a sudden, man, we had strategies. And I told him, I said, look, man, here's reality. If you had to stand on the corner in the middle of town with a billboard on your chest and on your back saying, if you need financial help, stop and talk to me, and if that were to save your family, you would do that because the stakes are high enough. Now, why do I tell this very, very bizarre story? And by the way, it's a strategy I truly use. Because in our minds, when you're comfortable or comfortable enough, right? The stakes aren't high enough. You're not willing to get uncomfortable. You're not willing to take that massive action. You're not willing to break out of that slump. And that all is. I remember when my very, very first, when I left Robin's organization, this was back in the real broker-dealer days. So there was a firm, some of you probably won't remember who they are, but it was Prudential Beige Securities. They were down in Lower Manhattan around the Seaport. That was where the headquarters was. They were having their Monday sales meeting, and I was invited to come speak. And these were Monday sales meetings were for more, back then, the baby brokers. We'll actually use that term here. And I remember I said, I want to have impact with these people. They're all like young men out of college, right? You know, this is when Wall Street was just a couple years old, and the original one, not the latest one. I remember on the way to the conference room, there was on a desk, I don't know whose desk it was, I borrowed it anyway, there were the Manhattan White Pages. Now, some of you are like, what is that? Believe it or not, there was a time in our society when there was a thing called the phone book. And the Manhattan phone book was probably 3 to 4 inches thick. It had to have at least 1 million names. Like it was that, like you can kill a person with it. That's how heavy it was. And I remember I grabbed it on the way and I tucked it in my arm as I'm heading to the conference room. And you got to remember something like I'm just starting my career, right? Like I have not figured out, I knew 1/1,000,000th of what I know today as far as being an advisor. But I knew how to be successful. Like I knew how to performance coach, okay? I remember sales manager introduced me, Joe Lukacs, he's a peak performance consultant, all this stuff, right? So I go there and I got the book under my arm and I said, how many of you guys want to be $1 million producer? And they all raised their hand like eager kids, right? Oh, yeah, me, right? So great. I'm going to boil this game down to very simply, and here it is. And I took the phone book and I launched it probably about 3 feet in the air, and it landed with this massive thud right in the middle of the conference table. I said, that gentleman, because all men at the time, that gentleman is Manhattan White Pages. If in the next 3 years you commit to calling every name, you start at the A's, every name, and just tell them what you do and tell them you're here, and if they need any help, they want to make any money in the stock market, just do it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. You'll produce $1 million. Don't overthink it. Just take massive action, right? $500 a day, $1,000 a day, $2,000 a day, whatever you got to do, right? Whatever you got to do. And there was a simplicity back then because you did that. You opened up accounts, you dropped tickets. At 4:01 p.m. Eastern, you knew if you had a successful day or not. The tickets were on the board. Today, it's a lot more complex in a lot of ways. We don't have that instant gratification, instant feedback. A lot of times we don't know if we had a successful day because the game's different today. But the one universal truth that still remains, massive action cures all slumps. So if you're feeling like you're behind on your goals heading into September, you have, in my mind, a very binary choice. Choice number one, it's going to be an okay year, not a great year. Can't wait to get to the end of the year. I'm really going to have to do a lot better in 2025. That's path one. Path two is, I'm kind of like in the fourth quarter here of this game for the year. Maybe I need to be a little Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. Maybe what I need to do is really take massive action in September, October, November and apply myself and raise my standards and get really uncomfortable. And what I need to do is every day take massive action. I need to talk to all my clients, make sure I have all their money, make sure I remind them that I'm here as a resource for their friends, family, colleagues, and coworkers. I need to really make sure that I make an effort to let their CPA and attorneys know that I'm here also as a resource for their clients if somebody needs financial guidance in retirement or whatever your niche is, right, from that perspective. I need to look at every referral I've ever gotten and circle back around to see if the timing's better now than initially. I need to just go on and on and on and go do it. And don't overthink it, right? Well, Joe, what do you say? Like, it's not that complicated. These are people, right? I mean, let's be realistic here. Whatever you say, it's still mostly going to be about timing anyway. So just make the call or send the email or whatever we're going to do. But please do this. Stop planning to do it and then not do it because you're afraid of failure. You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid of success, right? Here's what happened. When we fear something in this game, we don't sit there and say to ourselves, oh my God, I'm really afraid. Like that, our ego won't allow that. We have this conversation, I really want to reach out to those people, but before I do that, I need to come up with a script. Or before I go ahead and reach out to that CPA, you know what? I'm going to get on there. I'm going to check out their website. I'm going to check out LinkedIn. I want to call my client, make sure it's okay. And you put all these barriers up, all these obstacles. Why? They're strategies to protect you from failing. That's how the mind works. It's kind of ingenious if you think about it, right? Like, we're not going to say, oh, you don't deserve to be successful. We're going to put up a bunch of obstacles subconsciously in front of you that appear like things to do, right? Or, oh, you know what, I better check what the markets are doing. Oh, I'm going to check out that compliance meeting, right? Or whatever we're going to do to stop us from doing what's necessary. And we have the illusion, which it is, it's an illusion of progress. That's what happens. So if you take anything away from this conversation today, in this episode, here's what I want you to take away from. And look, this is a universal thing. So I don't care if you're first year in the business or you're 30 years, it's irrelevant to me. If you feel that you're behind the curve and feeling like you're running out of runway, i.e. I'm running out of year here, it's going to be September soon, you have a choice. Accept okay, maybe mediocre. Figure out how you're going to blame it, right? This, that, the other thing. Or take responsibility, get uncomfortable, take massive action. Thank you for listening and watching this episode of Magellan Network Show. I will see you all again next week. Thank you for watching or listening to this episode of the Magellan Network Show. Hey, if any of this resonated with you, I invite you to come to MagellanNetwork.net, and we have a powerful group coaching community of like-minded advisors. Come in for a trial. You and I will have a one-on-one conversation. Let's see if I can help elevate your game both personally and professionally.